Howdy, church. Today's discussion leads us to this wonderful woman of faith, Rahab. Rahab is this same gal that we know who becomes absolutely critical in Israel's history. In fact, without her, the Jews would have been stalled right when they came to one of their big conquests of the land, and that being Jericho. We know that story about her hiding the spies and that she lied and all those kind of things, and yet God rewarded her for that. What we may not know is that the whole beginning of this, they chose Rahab's house. Why did they do that? Why did those spies choose her house? Well, it looks as if Rahab's house was part of the wall, this same wall that came crashing down as they marched around it. And it acted as kind of a lookout. So it was a perfect place, and they happened on Rahab's house, divinely, of course. But that is a key element to understand. But what is amazing about this is the confession that she shares with the spies. The interesting thing is the king knew that these spies had came. He knew that they came to Rahab's house. And so he sent some of his boys over there to give her the what to, right, about these spies. And when they come to her house, she says, yeah, they came, but they already took off. You better go get them. And they listened to Rahab. She must have had some kind of influence to wield that kind of power. It's interesting. But after they left, she goes to the spies and she says, hey guys, because I did this, here's what I want from you. But I want you to hear her confession in Joshua chapter 2, starting with verse 8. Before the spies lay down for the night, she went up to the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord, capital L-O-R-D, has given this land to you, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We've heard of how he dried up the water of the Red Sea for when you came out of Egypt, and everything you did to the kings. But look at this. When we heard of it, our hearts melted, and everyone's courage failed because of you. Listen to this. For the Lord your God is the God in heaven above and earth below. Wow. She had heard about God. 40 years ago they had heard. That's how long it was before they entered the land, from the Red Sea parting and so forth. So she had heard about it. Now her second request is quite audacious in that she asks for this promise from the spies. She says, now, then please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, because I've shown kindness to you, so that you will spare the lives of my father, my mother, my brother, and my sisters, and all who belong to me. That's a pretty audacious request. You may notice that she didn't ask for her own safety, just her family. That's an amazing thing. Now, what Rahab does is so significant and a very significant act of faith that she will live long after she is gone. Her name will live on, as it's mentioned time and time again throughout Scripture. One of the things we need to mention is theologically it's very difficult, this story, in light of her lying and yet God rewarding. That's a big discussion for us, but that's very curious to me. But nonetheless, she is the same Rahab who ends up in Jesus' kingly line. So she becomes, her child becomes part of the kingship of the Israelites. Amazing thing. And then she is also mentioned in the book of James as someone with faith, and even becomes in the wall or hall of fame as her name is mentioned in Hebrews 11. So an amazing faith that she has. But the curious thing is the Bible doesn't shrink back from who she is and her reputation of being a harlot and a prostitute. That is very an amazing thing. God works even through our past sin, past mistakes. But the last thing that's curious to me is that all the people heard that God was coming. And they were shaking in their boots, so to speak. And yet only one family believed. That's Rahab and her family. Very curious to me. Well, folks, what do we gain from our story today? Hebrews 6 tells us that God rewards those who earnestly seek him. Not just believe, not just talk about him, not just come to church and be religious, but actually believe and follow him. That's an amazing thought. In Joshua 2, we see again the simple words of Rahab. She says, I know. Folks, she knew and she followed. For us, it's not just the knowing, it's the following. Folks, let us follow like Rahab with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, and all of our strength as we consider the Lord today. We'll see you again real soon.